It's tier list time again, and today we're going over our mid-patch update for 13.5. So let's see how those champions change got affected after all those buffs and nerfs went live. Starting off with that top lane as usual, and in the S tier we have a crazy amount of champions. We've got Malphite, Shen, Camille, Jax, Fiora, Rengar, Kled, Aurelia, Pantheon, Singed, Darius, and then Olaf in the god tier. Lots of familiar faces and some new ones as well. Kennen did see some slight improvements and Aatrox unfortunately didn't. But Pantheon is a seriously scary Spartan again. Pantheon is hovering around 53% in both of the solo lanes. He was already in a pretty underrated spot anyway, and these changes have put him over the edge a little bit. Pantheon just has a ton of early game damage, a ridiculous ability to snowball games, and his roaming and his damage and his stuns and his gank setup all contribute to why he's just so good. He's still not the most popular champion in the game, he's still a little bit niche and he's still a little bit cheesy. But if you do get the right matchup, it just feels like you're cheating, it really is that easy. Tryndamere's buffs last week have also made quite a bit of difference, increasing his win rate by around 0.5%. Now, it's not going to be long before Tryndamere gets back to his best, and we all know what that means. He is one of the scariest top laners to play against once he does get fed, because he's so hard to shut down with that crazy mobility, and obviously his ultimate too. He has inbuilt crit, he has tons of damage, he has sustain, he has everything he needs to snowball and split push and win games very easily. Now, he's not quite broken right now, he is in the A tier, but just keep your eye on him, because good Tryndamere players are definitely back to their best. Now, we expected the Gangplank nerfs to hit him pretty hard, but we didn't expect them to hit him this hard. I mean, he's only just survived the B tier, and we were tempted to move him down into the C tier. They nerfed his barrel cooldown, and more importantly, they nerfed his passive, which is all it took for him to just get absolutely gutted. And now it's only really those one tricks that are winning a ton of games on him, because for the general player base, he's not really doing that well again. Gangplank has had his fair share of the spotlight though, he's been broken for such a long time now. And for such a difficult champion to have such a high win rate for such a long time, it definitely needed a nerf. Don't worry too much though, because if you are good enough on Gangplank, he's still more than viable. He's still got crazy damage, he's got fantastic scaling, he's just not going to win as many lanes quite as easily. Over to that jungle now, and in the god tier we have Jarvan, and in the S tier we have Wukong, Master Yi, Kayn, Fiddlesticks, Udyr, Kindred and Lee Sin. The jungle changes last week had a huge impact on the jungle meta, and now those counter jungling invading demons like Kindred, Kayn and Nidalee are well and truly back in action. One champion that did see a massive improvement from these changes though that we didn't quite expect was Master Yi. Now it's probably because Master Yi was already in a good spot. Lots of his more difficult matchups have been nerfed gradually, and when it comes to power farming and clearing the jungle and prioritizing experience, the Master Yi does this best. He's all about getting scaled up as quickly as possible, getting those core items, and then just rolling over teams with his insane damage and carry potential. Now, Master Yi does have a bit of a fluctuation between ranks. He's always tend to have a better win rate at lower ranks than he does in high elo, but generally speaking, for the majority of the player base across most ranks, he's back to being in a really good spot again. And to reflect this, his ban rate is slowly climbing back up again, because let's be honest, no one enjoys playing against a fed Master Yi. Rammus's nerfs definitely knocked him down a notch, and he's now back into a more balanced state. Finally, Riot have managed to nerf Rammus without gutting him into the ground, and now honestly, he's in a pretty good spot, but not too overpowered like he was before. When Rammus is strong, he just feels so hard to beat, but when Rammus gets nerfed, he usually disappears into the void of C tiers and D tiers. This time round, it's been enough to knock him down without making him completely useless again. Which is great news for all you Rammus mains, because now he's not going to get banned as much, he's not going to get picked as much, and you're still going to be able to play him and win a lot of games with him. Speaking of winning games from the jungle, Wukong is still in a fantastic position at the moment. He's just such a versatile and flexible pick into so many different jungle matchups. You've got fantastic mobility, great damage early game, you've got fantastic CC with your ultimate, and you're just always useful in games no matter what the outcome of the early game is. You've always got that ability to engage and initiate, you've always got that ability to peel as well, and to top all of this off, he's just a really straightforward and simple jungler to learn and play. So if there is a champion select when your mains are banned and you're not sure who to play, you just can't go wrong with Wukong. Let's move over to that mid lane now, and Annie remains in that god tier. She's still unnerfed, so of course she's still going to stay there. In the S tier though, we have Anivia, Cassiopeia, Aurelion Sol, Tristana, Rumble, Pantheon again, Zoe and Akshan. Azir has now fallen back off the tier list into the C tier, as he's just not in a great spot for solo queue. Aurelion Sol's first round of nerfs came in this week, and they didn't quite hit the mark as we expected. And he's staying in the S tier for now, but next week he's getting nerfed again in patch 13.6. Rumble has always been such a fantastic counter to lots of different mid lane matchups, and after those buffs last week, well, this is evident more than ever. Rumble is just such a scary champion to play against if you are counterpicked by him. Try to get some farm, and then before you know it, your eyebrows have been burnt off. Rumble's ultimate is just so good in team fights, it's such a fantastic roaming ability too. All you gotta do is walk down to the bot lane, press R, kill bot lane, win the dragon, win the game. He's not performing quite as good in the top lane just yet, but he's still having a much better time than he did last patch. So if you are looking for someone new to try in that mid lane in the right matchup in the right draft, pick up Rumble. The buffs to Fizz this week were pretty significant, and that's why his win rate has increased by around 1%. Fizz does struggle against some of the more busted S tier mid laners at the moment, but as they gradually get nerfed, he's only going to get better. He's already in a really good spot with around a 52.3% win rate in Plat Plus, and if you do pick him in the right matchup, it's going to be such a free win for you. All you've really got to do is play around your level 6 power spike, play around those item power spikes, snowball and stomp, and carry the game super easily. You can roam really well, really effectively, and you can get so fed and put the game to bed yourself. Fizz really does have the possibility to dodge everything that his enemies throw at him. So if they don't have any reliable CC, you're going to have a lot of fun. As we expected, Qiyana is just basically the same as she was last patch, but a little bit better. She's definitely more suited to higher ranking players who know how to truly abuse her combos and her damage potential. A good Qiyana player is very difficult to beat, but an average Qiyana player makes her look a little bit weak. She definitely is one of those champions that needs a lot of skill to play correctly, and she's always had one of the biggest divides between low and high elo out of any other champion in the game. And very similar to that, we've also got LeBlanc, and unfortunately her changes didn't really help her out as much as we'd expected, and it's only really those top LeBlanc players who are really able to play her well enough. Just like Fizz though, as LeBlanc's difficult matchups in that S tier gradually get nerfed, we will likely see some improvements here, so don't write her off just yet. LeBlanc is a really fun champion with a great fun kit, and if you can play her, she can be insanely easy to carry with, but it might just take a few more patches until she's back to her best. Well, let's move down to those AD carries now then, and in the S tier we have Jinx, Zeri, Kai'Sa, Xayah, Twitch and Draven. Zeri is still popping off right now, but she is getting some nerfs next week, so make sure you check back in next week's video to see all of the next patches changes in our tier list rundown. Just like we expected, the nerfs to Caitlyn's base stats last week have made a massive difference, and unfortunately she's fallen down to the B tier. The problem is, if you nerf Caitlyn's early game, you basically nerf her mid game too, and her mid game is where she's at her weakest. She really doesn't offer too much at this stage in the game. All she really does is auto attack towers, and then she becomes useful again once she gets those 6 items in the very late game. So if you don't have that control and ability to bully lanes in the lane phase, it's just going to be so much easier for your enemies to punish you and never really let you get going. Now, although Caitlyn is in the B tier, she still can be a strong pick in the right hands. And with careful positioning, strong mechanics and good trap usage, a skilled Caitlyn player can still overthrow and win any game against the odds. Xayah actually lost around 1.5% off her win rate this patch, but she's still in the S tier, so that shows just how broken she was before these changes. Xayah still has a lot to offer, and she's still in a really good spot though. She has good wave clear, tons of damage, good trading potential, fantastic burst with those feathers, and also that massive ability to self-peel for herself with her ultimate. To add to this, she's really good alongside a really strong support, and of course it's Rakan, and the two of those together are seriously a formidable force in that bot lane right now. Xayah definitely is not quite as free elo as she was a week ago, but if you are good enough and you enjoy playing her, then there's no reason to stop playing her anytime soon. If you aren't playing Jinx yet though, you're missing out, because after the buffs last week, she is back with a vengeance. Now, despite being incredibly vulnerable in the early game, Jinx's late game more than makes up for it. And if you do get a few too many kills and a few too much CS in the lane phase, you're going to turn into an absolute monster as you go into the mid game. Jinx has incredible AoE splash damage, fantastic range, and her resets allow her to tear through teams so easily once she's got those core items. Yes, you do need to be careful of those aggressive, engaging, hooking supports that can really put you behind and ruin your day. But if you do manage to get through that lane phase, then Jinx is in one of the best spots she's been in for quite some time. As always, let's finish off with those supports now then. And in the S tier, we have Senna, Rakan, Blitzcrank, Thresh, Annie, Pyke, and Nautilus. Ashe support has taken a huge hit this week and now sinks down to the B tier. It really is hook, line and sinker in the bot lane at the moment, and with all those infamous lockdown supports like Nautilus, Thresh, Blitzcrank and Pyke all having a whale of a time, you can really get a feel for what the meta is right now. You can either dominate the map by roaming and carrying other lanes, or you can just destroy that bot lane in those early 2v2s. These hooking and engaging supports have a ton of ways to influence and carry games, and after that extended period of enchanters being in every single game, it's nice to have the big bad boys back. If you do want to see the best builds and runes for any of these supports, then don't forget to download our desktop app and get everything you need imported straight into your client in Champion Select. If you want to try out Senna because she's pretty OP now, then we've got you covered. Yuumi's adjustments have actually made a massive difference and warranted nerfs already coming in next week's patch. It seems like Riot did a pretty decent job at bringing Yuumi back into the meta after really over-nerfing her previously. The changes they made are pretty significant and it was more of a rework than anything else. She's far more suitable for newer players now. She's definitely not quite as good as you get into those higher ranks, but at those lower ranks she's probably a bit too strong at the moment. We're intrigued to see what those nerfs they're bringing into Yuumi are next week, but for now she's going to stay in the A tier. Taric is still super underrated though, and probably always will be. His win rate in general has just been so consistently impressive for months and months now, but due to his low popularity, he's still really not getting played that much. Taric is a tanky support with a shed load of utility. His heals, his stuns, and his ultimate can all be easily enough to make the difference in all sorts of situations. From 2v2s in the bot lane to huge late game Baron fights, and if you time that ult correctly, GG well played. If you've been maining support for a while now and you haven't tried Taric yet, it could be your ticket to climb pretty easily, and he's never really banned or picked. So if you get good at him, you're always going to be able to play him. And that's going to bring us to the end of our quick mid-patch tier list update video. We hope you guys enjoyed it, and don't forget to check back next week for patch 13.6. Before you go, remember to subscribe to our channel if you enjoy our content, and give our desktop app a try too, because if you're here to improve at League of Legends, you're in the right place. Thanks everyone again for watching, and as always, take care.